He did not have enough people to fight this mass army. Now, if you took your time and did some history, you will find that the Ammonites and the Moabites were really kind of distant cousins to the Israelites. After all, when Lot is escaping Sodom and Gomorrah, he makes it out of his city. He's got no wife. His 2 daughters are with him. They go in and they have sex. One does one night, the other one does another night, and they produce these children, Ammon and Moab. And now they become these nations, and they haunt Israel throughout. I've discovered that if you don't get rid of a particular sin early in life, it'll just haunt you for a long time. I don't care if you become the head deacon. I don't care if you become the head elder. I don't care if you become the pastor himself. If you haven't cleared it, it'll haunt you. And you'll spend your time trying to hide and not let people know just how bad you are. I'm with that brother that told the children's story. I'm always working on a reputation. Because if y'all really saw the real pastor, you might call the conference before this sermon's over. So I'm always glad that God has this way of not letting everybody see every little detail about me. Perhaps you're that way because you guys look really holy and really innocent to me from standing up here. I don't see an issue out here. I don't see an evil person in this congregation. But in case there is one, I need you to understand something. The devil haunts your life day in and day out because he doesn't want you to get to glory. His agenda is always active. He never takes a break. He never takes time off. He's constantly trying to get at you. And if he can get you to throw in the towel, to turn your back on God, to leave the church, he will be successful. But God's got these 3 strategies. You got to check this out. Now, in this passage of Scripture, Jehoshaphat hears that the army is coming on the way. Now, if that were you and me, we might call our attorney. The first thing we might do, we might call our relatives. In fact, let the truth be known, every holy Seventh-day Adventist has somebody connected to prison, and they know who to call at the right time when they need some help. Everybody got a relative. If I were to go to your family reunion, you would introduce me to everybody but the one you're most embarrassed about. God knows because I got him in my family. So you know that in church, we have a tendency to try and solve every war that we're in our own power, in our own strength. We want to solve it. We want to do it. And if I could speak to every man here, if you are a man true to your manhood, you pride yourself on solving your own problems. You don't want any information from your wife. You certainly don't want them from those children that nag you all the time. You want to solve it. You want to take care of it. And the twist of it is that if I do all the work, I'm going to get all the credit. So God allows Satan to bring into my life a whole bunch of enemies and war to where I'm so overwhelmed I can't even help myself. I can't even call on you. I can't call on the church. I can't call on my family. I have to solve it myself. It's too much, and now I get overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, you got 2 options. Well, there's at least 2 options. 1, you quit. 1, you commit suicide. Or 1, you simply become a cynic sitting in the pew. Everything becomes an issue for you. Everything becomes bothersome for you. Everything becomes worrisome for you. Everything is not going well for you. You're just a cynic because you're mad because you can't solve every issue in your life. Oh, but God's got an answer in this chapter. You see, Jehoshaphat, who's gone through some of those issues, who couldn't solve everything, finally it dawns on him, and here's my point number 1. Jehoshaphat goes straight to his knees and gives God every issue out there. I like this prayer now. You got to check out this prayer. When you go to your knees in prayer, don't tell God about your troubles, all the details of your troubles. I want to tell you, he already knows them. He already knows who you don't like. He already knows who's getting on your everlasting nerves. He already understands who you can't get along with. He knows all that. Jehoshaphat doesn't waste his time in prayer over that. You know why? Because the enemy is fast approaching. If he spends too much time on his knees, the enemy will be up on him. But I like what he does. If you look at that passage of scripture, Jehoshaphat tells God how awesome God is. When you go to your knees, man, you got some issues in your life. You got to tell God, God, I remember back then you brought me out of this trouble. I remember over here you brought me out of that trouble. I remember, God, listen, this is what he said. He said, God, are you still the God of heaven? Are you still the one that, watch this now, that rules over the nations, which means everything is under your power and under your concern?